Welcome back to Let's Make a Game, a channel about making computer role-playing games using the free program Twine and the Sugarcube format for Twine. In this video, I would like to continue talking about my current project of coding the combat system for a viewer's game. In the last video, I said that I expected the viewer whose game this is going to be to contact me fairly soon and tell me if I'd misjudged, misinterpreted their instructions, whether they wanted anything different to what I'd done. And they have given me a message, and so over this video and probably the next couple of videos at least, I will be making changes based on that message. So one of the things they wanted is that they wanted the player character to be able to give an order to flee the combat to their companions, if they have any, as long as the exit is open at their end. So here's an example of a combat that has just started, which does indeed have an open exit. And when I go to give an order, oops, we have the 4 that we've seen already, but we have a new one, which is retreat. And when I click that, instead of having to roll as normal, the companion should automatically obey the order. So we click retreat, and yes, there's no rolls, there's no numbers, there's no adding anything up. It just says companion 2 will flee. And if I continue, it works the same as other orders in that I still have 2 actions. It doesn't count as an action, but I can only give 1 order per turn. And when it's the companions go, they do indeed move back based on that order. And in fact, if we keep going, now I could retreat and leave the combat, but I won't do that. I'll retreat and then advance just to show you. And then the enemy attacks, and once again, companion 2 retreats twice, and on the second movement, they have fled the battle in obedience to that order. And the combat continues with just the player character and the enemy. So that's what I've added, and I'm going to show you how it's done in the rest of the video. So this is one of those ones where there's a sort of a little change to a lot of different places. There aren't any new variables required, but we do have the order name array, which keeps track of, as the name suggests, the titles of all of the orders that the player character can attempt to give the companions. And because we have a new order, we need to add a new bit of text to that. So instead of having charge, cover me, fall back, regroup, well, we already had those, and we already had nothing in slot 0 because, as I've said many times, I usually find it easier to work from slot 1 rather than the default behavior of this and a lot of other computer programs, programming languages, which is to start from slot 0. We now have this extra bit of text, which is the new order. Now, unlike all the other orders, this order should only be an option when the player character's end of the battlefield is open. And if you've been following this series, you might know that that is kept track of with the variable ESC underscore PC, which of course stands for PCs or player characters escape. Just as ESC underscore NME keeps track of whether the enemies can retreat off the battlefield. So we need to make a little change when we are displaying all of the possible orders, which is over here. So the change is down here. There's a new if. We have a for loop, in this case using the temporary variable y. This used to be for y equals 1, y is less than or equal to 4, which is not very good practice. I think I remarked on it at the time that it wasn't very good practice. You shouldn't have a set number. You should base it on the length of whatever array is relevant. In this case, $order name, and usually it's dollars, the name of the array, dot length, length, minus 1. That minus 1 is caused by the fact that the programming language Twine counts from 0, and if you didn't do minus 1, it would sort of treat it as having one more element than it really does. And so I've changed it to that. So it goes for y equals 1, y is less than or equal to order name dot length minus 1, y plus plus. This text just prints the button that specifies a particular order and takes the program to order 2. But we don't always print the 5th order. So we only execute this text, whereas before it was always executed in each run through of the for loop. Now it's only executed if y is less than 5 or ESC underscore PC is equal to 1. In other words, orders 1 to 4, always do those. The 5th order, do it if the player character's end of the battlefield is open. So that's one change. When the player presses this order button, it will go to this passage here, order capital I, or order 2. And we have another change here because this is the page where we roll to see if the order is successful, but it's automatically successful if it's order 5. So Z is which companion has been given the order, Y is which order is being given, and so we deal with that very simply. We just say if Y is equal to 5, then, and there should be a line break there, I'll fix that in the version I upload to itch.io, but if Y is equal to 5, this order is automatically obeyed. We set the relevant slot of the COM array to 5 so that the program remembers that this particular companion is obeying order 5. And we give a little message that says companion Z will flee. Else, we do all of the rolling and stuff that we've talked about before. And then we give the message, well, they obey the order or they don't obey the order, depending on the outcome of that roll. And then we just put all the stuff that always happens, like the 2 line breaks, the setting of print underscore dist to 1, which just tells the program that it should print out the battlefield. The increase in the number of actions, which doesn't actually increase the number of actions, it's just to compensate for the fact that when we go here, it's going to reduce the number of actions and we want them to stay the same. And also this, that we set given order to 1, which is how the program keeps track of whether the player character has attempted to give an order in this turn. So that's the sort of giving the order side of things. We also have to deal with obeying the order, acting in accordance with the order, and that of course is in the companion section when the companion moves. So with the other orders, sorry, this passage deals with all the orders that aren't charged. And I think it used to be called something like, what did it used to be called? Something like regroup slash, like the names of the different orders. But I thought having 4 different ones was too much, so I just called it other orders, meaning orders other than charge. Charge is sort of works slightly differently, so it's dealt with over here. So the way that most of the orders work, most of the orders are move to a particular place and sort of fight from there. So if it's regroup, where you want to go is where the player character is, or it might be one behind the player character, or it might be the furthest back space on the battlefield, which is $band_LOW, but which stands for the lowest range band or the lowest numbered range band. The one we want, very simply, band_low -1. In other words, head off the battlefield. Head for the range band behind the end of the battlefield, i.e. head off the battlefield. I just made a little note that says what retreat does. And because this other orders page, it used to be the case that the companion would never move off the battlefield in obedience to these orders, because there wasn't any order that told them to do that. But because there now is, we have to account for that. And we account for that in this section. So we look at, is com ini_who3 greater than z? So what does that mean? Well, z is the target range band. ini_who is who has initiative. Com is the array that keeps track of quite a lot of things about the companions. And in particular, com something 3 is the location of a particular companion. So com 2,3 is the location of companion 2, and com 1,3 is the location of companion 1. So if com ini_who3 is greater than z, basically means is the companion's current location ahead of where they want to be? In other words, do they want to move back? And if that's the case, we say they move back and we reduce their location by 1. And now we have some new text. Instead of going always to next action, because we might not want this companion to execute their next action because they might have left the battlefield. So we have if com ini_who3, again, this currently acting companion's location, if that is less than band_low, the end of the battlefield, in other words, if they've moved off the battlefield, then we have these lines. Firstly, we have a message, companion 2 flees the battle, or whatever it may be, with a couple of line breaks. Set their hit points to 0. That probably won't happen in the final game, because like they'll come back later, or we'll probably have to store them somewhere so that they come back later. But at the moment, we set their hit points to 0 to indicate that they're not in the battle anymore. We get rid of the injured tag if they have one. That probably shouldn't happen, actually. Now that I look at it, that's actually a mistake. Sorry. I'll fix that in the version that's uploaded. So we set their hit points to 0, and we get rid of a special advantage tag they might have, which is specific to the battle that it was gained in only. And then we have a button that says continue, and instead of going to next action, which is where we normally go, we go to next character, because this companion has definitely finished, even if that was their first action. And so we need to look at the next character in the battle. And that is all we need to do? Well, it's all we need to do now. We do need to have some mechanism to allow the companion to come back. We need to sort of store their details somewhere so that they can come back after the battle. I don't know if that's something that the viewer whose game this is going to be wants to do, or that whether they want me to do it. But in terms of the stuff we immediately need to do, we've worked out how to give them this new order, and then we've worked out how to get them to execute that order if it is given. And so that is, that. I do have at least one more thing that I want to do. I said in the last video that the viewer had a sort of third type of battlefield, but I didn't quite understand the explanation. They've sort of explained it to me again, and I get it now. So that's probably what I'll do next. And then we can move on to dealing with different weapons and sort of storing weapons and so on, and then perhaps onto the display, having a first-person display instead of what we have now, which is a sort of only done as a placeholder where we're sort of looking from the top down, but that was never intended to be the way the game actually looked. But for now, I hope that was useful or interesting to at least some of you, and I hope you will tune in next time.